pass to Johnson. Johnson still going. Dummies again. Johnson. Into the one to Brown. Brown goes in to score.
Oh, he's serving it down the touchline. Oh, this is unbelievable. They're gonna win it. Oh, what scenes here, what scenes. LeBron James, a shot at history. LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
All right, we're on Thursday morning here at Surly HQ, ready to rip and tear into another podcast. Still plenty of sporting action to dissect. Of course, lots of news going around too. We've had the Eli Katoa situation, a bit more clarity around that, and him unfortunately missing the 2026 NRL season for the Melbourne Storm. We've had iZac Lomax, who looks like he's off to R360, early release from his Parramatta gig. We had the All Blacks go down to England in Twickenham. Really good game, dominated really by the English. This week, though, we look to bounce back against Wales, where the UFC, Islam, he is the new welterweight champion, dominated Jack Della Maddalena in a one-sided fight. But this week, we get the Kiwi, the hangman, Dan Hooker, back in the octagon. How bloody good. Jake Pauley set to fight Anthony Joshua for a total fight purse of $328 million on Netflix in a couple of weeks' time. That is a statement I never thought I would say. Surely Joshua gets the win there. We've got NBA, NFL, Black Caps. It is well and truly all go. So, a lot to get through on this week's podcast. Before that, though, of course, TAB podcast offer exclusive to Surly listeners. And this week, we're getting around our boy, Dan Hooker. So, place a head-to-head bet on Dan Hooker to win in his fight against Arman Sarukian this weekend on Sunday. And if he loses, you'll get your money back up to $20 as bonus cash. That is limit of one per customer, and only the first 200 to claim the offer can get amongst it. So basically, it's a free swing, a patriotic swing. We're backing our heart over our head. We're getting around our guy. $4.40 you can get for him head-to-head at time of recording. This is a free crack at that. If Dan doesn't win, you'll get your money back in bonus cash up to $20. So again, that code is Hooker. Use it for a head-to-head bet on Dan Hooker to beat Sarukian in that UFC Fight Night card on Sunday. And if he loses, you'll get your money back in bonus cash up to $20. Love that. SDS Bowls Day. Each week she inches closer. Tickets still on sale, but there's only a couple groups left. So if you're thinking of getting yourself amongst it, then run, don't walk. Head along to surlytalksport.co.nz. Grab your tickets. They're sold in a group of 4. TAB will be there handing out exclusive promos and giveaways. We've got Frankie's providing the delicious tins for you to wrap your teeth around. Plus, you get an exclusive piece of Surly Talk Sports Bowls Day merch designed especially just for this day. It's a one-off, much like the hats that go around at the golf day. Those alone worth the price of admission. We've got DJs as well, bowls, bets and banter. Free Darren Frothiers. What more could you want? Going to be a doozy of a day. So grab your team. Again, less than a handful of teams left remaining. So December 6th, if you want to be partying with me and a bunch of other great New Zealanders while we play some bowls and get amongst it, then go grab your tickets. And then finally, of course, Golf NZ, they've come to the show. Got around Surly Talk Sports with this Flexi Club promo offer. Mentioned it last week. If you didn't tune in, then basically Flexi Club, it's an official Golf New Zealand membership, which means you can get access to a handicap, you get access to the Golf New Zealand app and all the features it offers. You can play at affiliated rates at golf clubs across the country, and you'll get exclusive offers from Golf New Zealand and their partners. The best thing about it too, a lot of people, they can't afford a standard membership at their local golf course because it can get a little steep pricey, but Flexi Club, it's only $120 a year. You can pay monthly as well. Doesn't have to be a one-off payment. There's no long-term commitments. You get the benefits or most of the benefits of other memberships as well. You can rock up at multiple courses all across the country, play affiliate fees, discounted rates, and have a swing with your mates. What more could you want? So head to golf.co.nz/FlexiClub. I'll put the link in the episode description. Use the code SURLY at checkout and you'll get an extra $30 off too. They'll waive the joining fee for you basically. So dust off the sticks, grab your memberships, get your mates involved. Tee it high and let it fly, baby. Golf, she's a summer game. If you're like me, you're a social golfer. You go all right, but you're not playing in the winter when it's muddy and whatnot. Summer's here now. It's twilight season, baby. So grab yourself a Flexi Club membership, dust off the sticks, and I'll see you out there. Plus, early golf day announcement on when that goes down next, coming soon. And you're going to want to be pretty handy by the time that rolls around so you can take away some epic prizes. So shout out to Golf NZ and Flexi Club. Don't miss out on that promo. $30 off. How bloody good. May have been the first weekend without rugby league on our TV screens, but still plenty of chat from the greatest game of all. This first story we touch on, incredibly sad. At the same time, there is a slight little silver lining there, but yeah, this one just breaks the heart more and more each day as more news comes out around the situation. Of course, referring to the Eli Katoa ordeal and the fact that he will not be lacing up for the Melbourne Storm in 2026. 100% the correct decision. This bloke, man, he has been put through the ringer. Unfortunately, of course, brain bleed, had surgery, suffered seizure-like activity on the sidelines in that game against the Kiwis, and it still just grinds my gears. The fact that he was even out there lacing up in this game in the first place, got knocked out in the warm-up, should have been pulled then. His player welfare, man, there was just no regard for it, but we all know the situation, we all know what happened, and as a result now, he won't be playing for the Storm next year. I'm stoked to hear he's been well enough to travel back to Melbourne, and he has since been checked out of hospital there, so he will continue his recovery at home. But geez, someone needs to be held accountable for this. I'm a little bit shocked that it's taken this long even for anything to happen. Currently, nothing has happened, to be fair, so hopefully they weren't trying to sweep this one under the rug. But yeah, that Tongan medical staff, whoever made the call, the powers that be that allowed him to play, geez, heads need to roll 100%. I'm talking lifetime bans, man. This could have been so much worse than it already is. And there is a genuine possibility that Eli Katoa won't play the game again. So pretty scary scenes. Well done to the Storm for putting his health above their season next year and ruling him out nice and early as well. I believe they're getting salary cap relief, 500 grand or so, but that really isn't what we're talking about here. Yeah, this whole situation still just shocks me and really does wind me up as a footy fan that this bloke literally almost lost his own life as a result of people just simply not doing their job. So not good enough. I'm sure there's more to develop in this story, but let's hope that someone or multiple people are held accountable for everything that has gone down. And again, our best wishes to Eli Katoa. Just tragic that he's not going to be playing the game next year. He might not play it again, but stoked that he is healthy, and it looks like he's going to be all right, make a full recovery back there in Melbourne with his family. So our thoughts and prayers are with him. Zachy Lomax, the R360, or it certainly seems he is heading there. Of course, Parramatta granted him an early release earlier in the week, only 1 year into his 4-year deal worth supposedly 700 grand a year. And look, I don't think this shocked anyone. Right from the moment that it was rumoured that NRL players were looking to head to 360, the two names on everyone's lips were Ryan Papenhuyzen and Zach Lomax. And to be fair, they have the same agent, so it kind of always made sense. The thing which grinds my gears a little bit about this, because I don't begrudge the guy for going at all. Go make that money, especially a player like him out on the wing playing Origin. He's a high-level footballer, but if he can make bank and do something a little different, if his heart's not in it, and he seems like a bit of a different character, right? Got out of that Dragons deal, wanted to be a centre. Now it appears he's not happy playing on the wing for Para, so he's decided to get this release. But yeah, first year of a 4-year deal. That, to me, sets a dangerous precedent. Well done to the Eels for releasing him. I heard Jason Riles say that he doesn't want players that don't want to be there. I think it's 100% the right thing. But yeah, different story, I guess, if you were in the 4th year of your 4-year deal. Just seems like they only picked him up last year, and he is a quality footballer. It was a big signing for them. So it is a bit of a blow for Para at the same time. And saying that, I do think their money could be well spent elsewhere. Nelson Asafa-Solomona, he was already rumoured to be in chats with them. Personal friend of Jason Riles, having worked with him at the Melbourne Storm. Of course, he's a free agent. I believe Perth and us also in the mixer, but maybe now Para can grab him for next year with some of this money. And then also the big target that they believe to be going for 2027 is Keon Kolomatangi. And for me, if you can get, say, a Nelson and a Keon long term, then I think they've ended up winning this deal, right? Like Zachy Lomax, great player, New South Wales, would have been Kangaroos winger as well, scores scores tries for fun, aerial threat. But I think if you can get Nas and Kolomatangi in return, then that's a bit of an upgrade for me. So it's going to be interesting to see just how this whole Lomax thing does play out, and just R360 in general, right? Like, they still don't have a TV rights deal, which to me is the biggest alarm bell straight away. Like, we are led to believe this comp is 100% going to get off the ground for October next year, but it's still not locked in. So these guys taking these risks, it's pretty ballsy. And by all chat, it appears that Payne Haas now really starting to reconsider what he does. And the latest chat, that is more now leaning towards staying with the Broncos due to some uncertainty around R360. I believe they've offered him a 3-year upgrade that would see him earn around $1.5 million a season in the final year of his deal. They reckon around 3.8 the total deal is worth. So we're still talking big money here, money that sets up your family for sure. So it's really going to be interesting to see around the pain factor. But yeah, Lomax, Pappy, the first two to take the risk, both rumoured to potentially be linking up with either the MLR or Japanese rugby prior to R360's expected kickoff in October next year. I will say MLR, teams folding in that American rugby competition left, right and centre. They can't afford the player salaries, so I don't think the money would be there for that. Japan does make sense. They could go there back end of their current season, make a couple $100,000 for a short stint, I'm sure. But yeah, ballsy stuff. So off goes Lomax. It'll be interesting to see what Payne Haas does too. But full credit to Para for releasing him. Sad to see a talent like that leave our game. But at the same time, look, there'll be other wingers. Bailey Simonson straight away. Probably someone who slots in and takes his spot. And I'll be keen. If they can turn that into Nas and Keon, as I mentioned, then I think overall that's probably a win for Parramatta. Also, interested to see that NRL comp proposed format pop up again as well. There's been a bit of chat around this for a while now. The fact around once we get to 20 teams, should this be a 20-round competition? Everyone plays each other once, then that opens up an origin window mid-season and also a proper international window. And I'm actually all for this. I was stoked to see this topic arise again. I do see Wayne Bennett has come out and shut it down early doors. And I think the biggest deciding factor around whether this goes ahead or not is around the TV rights deal, because I'm 100% of the opinion right now that the season is too long. And it feels weird to say that as a footy fan, right? Like, we live and breathe the rugby league. We love sitting on our couch and watching footy, but putting your player's hat on, man, it must be so incredibly demanding. They're already back at pre-season. Literally, internationals finished last weekend. They are on the tools from November till end of October, early November. It's a physical game, takes a massive toll on the body, mentally and physically as well. I just think it's too long at the moment. And when you factor into, right, like that post-origin window or even the origin window up to a few weeks after it as well, the footy, the quality really does drop off. So basically, if you can eliminate that period and instead we shorten things, but we get a better competition, we're going quality over quantity, then I 100% reckon it is the right thing to do around this competition. So I'm all for it. 20-round comp. 20 teams, everyone plays each other once. I'm not so sold on this conference setup style of thing. I do get it encourages rivalry games and things like that, but I think just to start things off, you just have it, everyone plays each other once. There's an origin window in there and an international window. I would be fizzed on this international window in particular, because to me, a shortened season with that window in there means guys like Hughes and that will 100% lace up more often for their countries. And I reckon the Pac Champs showed there is such an appetite for the international game at the moment, which is probably the selling point to counteract the broadcast deal around less NRL games, right? Like, we're going to give you more internationals, which, as we saw, Suncorp, 40,000, Combank sold out, Eden Park, almost 40,000 there too. Like, people are going to show up, they're going to watch it on their TV screens too. So I am all for this. Not surprised Wayne Bennett isn't. Old bloke, doesn't like change, but I truly think this is the way to go. And speaking of the NRL draw, of course, the draw came out for the comp late last week. Wanted to highlight a couple key dates around the season and the Warriors season too, and just some fixtures that I'm really looking forward to seeing. The first one being that Māori All-Stars game up against the Indigenous All-Stars Sunday, 15th of Feb in Hamilton. Love that. I'll certainly be heading down there for that one. I am keen to watch that game for sure. When you look at the possible lineup, lineups for both teams, absolutely stacked, and I reckon this will be a quality game. Cool to have it in Hamilton too. I reckon the locals and Aucklanders, short distance, easy travel. I think people will really get around that. In terms of Warriors home games, of course, start the year with 2, finish the year with 2 as well. Love that. And overall, I think our draw is pretty good, to be fair. I don't love our buys, round 10, 14 and 18, so all 3 buys within 8 weeks. We have to go through 9 games before we get our first one, and then we have that little stretch at the end there again where we have to get through 9 more games as well before finals footy. It's a bit of a run of doom, to be fair. Manly, you got the Bunnies in there, you got the Broncos, you got the Panthers, you got the Dogs sprinkled amongst the Tigers, the Dragons, the Titans, the Knights, games that we should win. But overall, I think we've come out pretty well, to be fair. We do travel the most distance per team in the comp as expected, though, being based in New Zealand. We're going to travel 60,729 Ks next year. The next closest, the Cowboys, 10,000 Ks behind us, and then there's a 20,000 K drop post that with the Eels covering the least distance. But that's to be expected, being the only New Zealand team. The Christchurch game, that is going to be a great watch and one that I'm incredibly keen to head down to 100%. They will be taking on the Cowboys in One New Zealand Stadium, that brand new one, Te Kaha, with the roof on, round 16. That'll be a great watch. Of course, the Wellington Anzac game against the Dolphins down there in the Cake Tin, Saturday, April 25th. That'll be bums on seat stuff for sure as well. Magic round, we take on the Broncos. We are the home side. I see a lot of people kicking up fuss about this. To be fair, it's pretty stock standard though. The Broncos always get away games at Magic round. It's just we don't play them at Magic round. Normally it is Manly versus the Broncos, and that's counted as a Manly home game. But in the past, whenever we've played at Magic round, it has been Warriors home games, and I believe it is massive financially for the club as well. I think if you're the home side, you get a greater percentage of ticket sales, which can be very good financially for our club. And look, a little bit gutted this game is on the Sunday because the Saturday night is a great steam up in Brizzy. And look, it won't stop me from ripping in, maybe going to Maya and whatnot, testing out the local nightlife. But 6:05pm kickoff New Zealand time on your Sunday night, we'll play the Broncos, and I 100% believe the NRL has done this because Sunday, it's known as leaving day, right? Where fans who have travelled from across Australia or New Zealand, they fly out, they go home, they get ready for work on your Monday. Well, if there's a game that is going to keep people around, then it would be the Warriors, who always get massive crowds at Suncorp, and we always take over Magic round. And then you pair them up against the home team and the Broncos. Their fans are going to be there anyway. It is going to be a great battle in this stand. 2 patriotic fan bases that'll show up in Brizzy in massive numbers. Man, that crowd is going to be iconic scenes, and I can't wait for that. We get to take on the defending champs at a sold-out Suncorp. It's not often you get to do that. We'll actually get to do it twice next year too. Maybe both games should be games that we all look to attend. Origin 1, Game 1, Sydney, 27th of May. That'll be a great watch too. I think it's about time I tick that off my sporting bucket list. Being a Blues fan, I'd prefer to go to a game in Sydney too, so I'll be travelling for that. But yeah, overall, a pretty good draw for the Warriors. The buys would have been good to have one spaced out a little bit later, round 23, round 24 would have been ideal, and maybe the first one a touch earlier in the season, but you can't have it all, and I certainly think we've done pretty well in terms of teams that we play twice, teams we only play once. I think we've come out of this one in reasonably good standing. So can't wait. 2026 is going to be special. Good to see a few more of the big dogs back at preseason training now too. Geez, that reel of Jacob Laban the Warriors posted up on their socials, that has me excited. The kid is looking unreal and ready to rip. I reckon he's set for a massive year, as is Morgan Gannon and co. Exciting times for Warriors fans. Jumping across the rugby, and it wasn't to be for the All Blacks in Twickenham. Razor's worst nightmare, the Grand Slam dream, is now done and dusted. England too good, 33 points to 19. And geez, I tell you what, that TikTok from a couple English players post-game really did rub salt into the wound too. That's almost pissed me off more than the result, to be fair. If you haven't seen it, basically the young lads, Tommy Freeman, Finn Smith, Freddie Stewart and Henry Pollock doing this lame TikTok dance in their hotel room after beating the ABs. Man, did that really get my blood boiling. I get it, this younger generation and whatnot, but still, even then, I don't think it was cool, to be brutally honest. Yeah, Henry Pollock, Jesus, he a good player, but man, interesting character, eh? Even him and the haka just licking his lips there. He looked like a villain out of a thriller movie. And I reckon that was 100% rehearsed. He'd practiced that face, the whole mannerisms in the mirror leading up to that game for sure. Again, great player, exciting young talent, but seems like an interesting character, that's for sure. But anyway, back to the game. As I mentioned, the All Blacks going down. The game started so well too. We looked to be the dominant of the two sides, moving the ball well, getting into our work early, fast start, but then it was 25 unanswered points either side of halftime that really hurt us. Our third quarter in games this year, they have been our Achilles heel. That period of play from that 40 to 60 minute mark has been our problem minutes all year, and it really continued in this game as well. The Cam Roigard injury didn't help right before halftime, neither did the Cody Taylor yellow card, which I don't agree with personally. I didn't think that was yellow card worthy, but it is what it is, and at the same time, with that referee in the middle, you kind of expected a couple calls like this to be made. In saying that, we were our own worst nightmare at times too. I didn't like our continued kicking game, just giving away good ball. Even when we had 15 players versus 14, a one-man overlap, we still just continued to kick away possession aimlessly. And they weren't good kicks either. I thought Bodie really struggled in this game. And to be fair, I think he's been pretty good at times throughout this year, but he's been reasonably inconsistent. It's hard as a 10 when your forward pack isn't dominating, but still, I thought he made a couple individual decisions that were really puzzling. Add to that, again, I thought we failed to have a plan B up our sleeve for when things weren't working in our game plan. I thought instead of mixing things up, we just stuck to the same plan, which wasn't working for us. We tried to do the same old stuff, and against good teams, that's not going to get you the win. You need to have a plan B or a plan C. You need to be able to pivot in game and say, look lads, this isn't getting us the desired results. Let's run out, change our game and play this sort of style. Again, we just continued to play the same method like we did against South Africa when we had that record loss. Our ability or our inability to adapt in game really was evident again in this one. I thought England, on the other hand, they were really good. Scored some nice tries, a few George Ford drop goals, a great kicking game, targeted us in all the areas that we expected them to. And look, we knew this was coming, right? We knew they were going to go aerial game, kick high, set piece, really strong, rush defense, try bash us up in the pack, and that's exactly what they did. They executed their game plan perfectly, and I thought George Ford in particular, for all the shitty cops, right? It's funny with drop goals, you miss those, people hate you. They say, oh, this is so boring, English footy. When you nail them, everyone loves you though, and he was nailing those. I thought he controlled the game, dictated, played the conductor role so well, put England in the right areas, constantly turned us around, had pressure on our kicks. I thought their 9 was really good with his nudges as well. Alex Mitchell, really good kicking game, a few nice sniping runs. I just think England were the better team basically for 40 plus minutes of this game, and as a result they came out with the win. In terms of All Black standouts, I thought Peter Luckeye was really good. He tried hard in that forward pack, and what a run he has been on in the last month or so. 20 carries, tied for the game high alongside English flanker Ben Earls, who had a bloody good game as well. I thought Lester Whainganuku was dangerous with ball in hand, scored a try, which is a nice touch for a bloke that has Twickenham in his name. I think his middle name is like Lester Twickenham Carter Whainganuku or something along those lines. I think there's a couple other names in the mixer there too, so maybe he gets the opportunity to score at Cardiff this weekend too and do the old middle name challenge. That would be great scenes, but good to see him cross. I thought he was good with ball in hand again as well. But apart from that, it was pretty slim pickings, man. Artie tried his heart out, but it wasn't his best game. He wasn't allowed to have his best game. And those scenes of seeing him behind the sticks post-game by himself, just looking dejected, man, that's heartbreaking scenes, right? And it just goes to show how much this bloke pours into things. But I think you could tell the disappointment on his face. He was probably just decompressing. But to me, that's our skipper. Again, I thought our leadership through Scotty Barrett and co wasn't outstanding either. And yeah, just slightly worrying signs. I'm not panicking like a lot of people are and saying Razor needs to go. For me, it's way too soon on that. You can't judge off the back of this personally. I think we'll towel up Wales this weekend and all will be all right. And that won't gloss over the up and down year that the All Blacks have had. But I think Richie Mo'unga coming back next year, no pressure lad. A lot of people expecting him to fully change the way we play. But I do think having him at 10 in the saddle will be a massive help. And I still think Razor & Co can get the best out of this this All Blacks team, but it is a little worrying now that time and time again in these losses, we kind of see a very similar trend, and there's certainly plenty of work for the All Blacks coaches to do in the off-season to try and iron out some pretty major kinks before we tackle the 2026 year, and what a year it is going to be too, right? We've got this new competition, this new Nations Championship, which has just been announced, plus 4 tests against South Africa. It is going to be an absolute barnstormer. But on to this week we go. The lads will be keen to flush that game. A dominant performance from the English, who deserve to get the win. Snap a little streak too, and do so at Twickenham. What an atmosphere too, just quietly. Had a couple mates there at that game. They said the crowd was elite. I see a lot of Kiwi fans piping up saying the English fans shouldn't sing Swing Low Sweet Chariot during the haka and that it's disrespectful. I saw Justin Marshall, old Boomfa, arcing up about it too on his podcast. Me personally, I reckon that's 100% play on, eh? I don't see that as disrespectful. Booing, disrespectful, 100%. But the English and their fans, they have the right to respond and react to the haka how they want in terms of their own traditional type of thing. And Swing Low Sweet Chariot, that's been a song around English rugby for a bloody long time. So personally, I didn't have a problem with that at all. Is it a little lame? Yeah, sure, but I'm sure if you're an English fan, you probably think it's cool. That formation they pulled as well, I thought that was pretty cool. Like, they're up to responding to the haka however they want. Again, Pollock didn't really rate his reaction, thought that was a little scripted, but he got the last laugh. He's also nominated for Breakout World Rugby Player of the Year this year, alongside Fabian Holland, so shout out to him too. The only All Black really getting a major nomination. No one nominated for World Rugby Player of the Year for the men's. A little bit surprised Artie didn't get a sniff, but instead it's 3 South Africans and 1 Frenchman. Tupovai nominated for Potential Try of the Year for that great meaty he scored, and I reckon that's a genuine chance too. But yeah, Fabian Holland flying the flag. Good to have him back this week too after succumbing to a tummy bug ahead of last week's game as well. Excited to see him back out there in the middle. In terms of this week, look, I think the All Blacks have indicated already. Team named, I believe, either late Thursday night or early Friday morning. And they've said there's going to be changes. They're going to give people opportunities. To the extent they do that, I'm not 100% sure. But personally, for me, it's time we see Ruben Love. I 100% want to see him start, whether at 10 or 15. Preferably at 15 for me. I think it is time he gets an opportunity. The other name I want to see on a team sheet, probably off the bench more realistically, is Caleb Tangito. I want to see this kid get a run. Look, Caleb Clark, he's back. They've said he's going to start. They've come out and said early he is going to be in the starting team, basically. So he will be on a wing. Maybe Will Jordan gets the other wing spot if he's not playing fullback, although they might just give him the week off. But I want to see Caleb Tangito get an opportunity. Up against Wales, a team that we should beat comfortably, a team that just beat Japan 83rd minute last week with a penalty to snap a horrible losing streak. They have not played good code in the last 2 or 3 years. So this is our chance to give someone like Caleb, who's been with the team, initially named in the All Blacks 15, played a couple games for them, scored some nice tries, now he's been training with the lads. This is our chance to give him a run and see if he's got what it takes at international level. Still so young in his career, this experience will be invaluable for him, and I genuinely reckon he is a superstar and someone that should be in our World Cup squad in 2027, or at least factored in there. So I would 100% give him a trot. In fact, the backline I'd take out this weekend. I think Roygaard, if he is good to go, then maybe you give him a go. Hasn't had a whole lot of footy this year, but at the same time, if he's carrying a slight niggle, do you even bother playing him? Maybe Ratama gets the start at 9. I'd go D-Mac at 10, Quintu Pyre at 12, Lester Whainganuku at 13. On the wings, I would go with Caleb Clark and Will Jordan with Ruben Love at the back. I reckon that would be exciting as fuck. I think Leroy Carter had a big first year in professional footy, so maybe he's earned the week off. If they want to give Leroy the start on the wing and Will Jordan the week off, then I wouldn't complain with that either. Then Tangito on the bench for me. I reckon that is a no-brainer. I really hope that that is the way Razor & Co. go, and that would add some excitement to this game and what I think will otherwise should just be one-way traffic, surely. The Welsh, they lost one of their best players, their winger too, to a red card suspension, so they are up against the ropes already. Historic place to play in Cardiff, and I reckon the All Blacks look to finish big and go out with a positive statement to round out the year, just so that those stones under the beach towels over summer aren't quite as big. The lads can go to to R&V, rip in and enjoy some well-deserved tins and just unwind knowing that they put Wales to the sword in their final performance. Maybe even a Christian Leo Willie, guys like that, give them another opportunity to wear the black jersey and show just how much it means to them. Other results from last weekend, Aussie, they got pumped by Ireland. They were down 14 points to 19 after 50-odd minutes, and then the floodgates just opened. Ireland looked way too good, running in a comfortable victory in the end, 46 points to 19. Mac Hansen, Aussie Mac, Australian lad, scored 3 tries to hurt his home nation. Ironic, right? Italy beat Australia the week before, 2 Aussie lads scoring tries. Then Ireland, their own comes back to hurt them again. Aussie have now lost 6 of their last 7 games. That downhill decline really is increasing. They're like an avalanche, basically, building up momentum, and they take on the French this weekend to round out their season at Stade de Francais. Geez, that could get ugly, man. France, $1.12 favourites. More on that shortly. Shout out to Samoa, who qualified for the 2027 Rugby World Cup in Australia as well. Yesterday, early doors, Wednesday morning, with a 13-all draw against Belgium, which isn't that impressive. When you look at that Samoan side on paper, man, they're pretty stacked. So the fact that they're drawing with Belgium really does baffle me. Surely there's got to be other things at play there. But the main thing is they qualified for the World Cup. It would have been crazy if they hadn't, given the talent they have in that team. So well done to them. They got the job done, I guess. Unconventional. Belgium almost bet them, to be fair. Scored in the 70th odd minute, and it was pretty dominant finish from them. Almost stole the show, but Samoa do hold on. Some All Blacks camp news as well. George Dyer, Devin Flanders called in for Tavita Mafaleo, who has been ruled out. Sent home early with injury, but I don't expect either of them to feature this weekend. Good to see Devin Flanders, though, closing the gap. He's a bloody good footballer, a good loose forward, great for Hawke's Bay, great for the Canes too, and I certainly think he's a player to keep an eye on over the next few years as well. I mentioned before that Nations Championship, an exciting new competition. The draw actually got announced a couple days ago earlier on in the week, and it's exciting for us Kiwi footy fans because we get to host 3 big tests early next year. Round 1, Saturday 4th of July 2026, we will host the French. Week after that, we host Italy, and then we host Ireland before heading over to the north at the end of the year to play out the last 3 rounds of the competition. We'll play Scotland at Murrayfield, Wales at Cardiff, and then we'll finish up with England at Twickenham Saturday, November 21st. That'll be a doozy. Then there's a finals weekend straight after that at Twickenham too, where basically they're split up into 2 pools, these teams, North and South Pool. First in the North Pool will play the first in the South Pool in the final. Second will play second, so on and so forth. She's pretty much a mini World Cup, which is huge for us, especially that's the ideal preparation heading into a Rugby World Cup in 2027. I think the more we can play these northern sides, the better for our footy too. They just play a different way. The North has really come on in leaps and bounds over the last couple of World Cup cycles, and I reckon it'll only bring the best out of the All Blacks for sure. Plus, a year out from the World Cup, it just 100% makes sense. So 2026 looking like a massive year for the ABs, with that Nations Championship, plus, of course, 4 tests against South Africa, 2 against the Wallabies. That's the ideal calendar, really. So really excited for that next year. But, of course, in the meantime, All Blacks to pump Wales this weekend and end the season with the bang. Let's get into the tips now, right? Bit of punting chat. Hopefully it's a cricket score and we can cash in up the mighty ABs. Punting and weekly wrap, and let's kick her off with the final game of Oval Code Sport for 2025. Shit, things move fast, but you'd expect that, right? Mid to late November, it's time she wrapped things up and these players got themselves a nice little break. The All Blacks, they will be stoked to get this one out of the way for sure. Taking on Wales in Cardiff. Heavy betting favourites were $1.01. Wales paying $15. And fair enough too. Wales have really struggled over the last couple of years and they only just scraped home last week against Japan by a bee's dick. So I expect us to be way too good. As I alluded to before, the coaches have alluded to plenty of changes and I expect to see plenty of them as well. So it makes it hard for your try scoring options. The line though, plus 27.5. So we're expecting a cricket score there, and your best backed winning team and margin is All Blacks 13 plus at $1.16. I like that. I like us All Blacks 13 plus at $1.16 for your try scorers. I love basically majority of the back line. Whoever starts at fullback, whoever's on your wings, whoever's at centre, chuck them in. A cheeky little halfback bet, a hooker bet too. I reckon this one could be a real fill-up. So, yeah, not too many tips here, but I will say stay tuned for the lineup Friday morning and then load up on try scorers. That's your only way to get some value. Power plays, I reckon we should beat them by 30 to 40 plus, and anything less than that, unless we change the whole starting 15 basically, would be considered a little bit of a disappointment. For your other international games, South Africa take on Ireland. They're $1.45 favourites. I like them to win that game in a close one. I was surprised to see Ireland paying $2.70, but I guess that's just reflective of how dominant South Africa have been, and I do think they will be too good. France, $1.12 favourites against Aussie. We're paying $5.75. The line is 14.5. I reckon France actually cover that. I was bullish on Australia covering last week. They really let me down, shat the bed after being so close at some stages of that game. So I'm going to go France minus 14.5 there. And then England versus Argentina. Should be a good game, that. Didn't expect the Argies to beat Scotland last week, but they did. They got the chocolates. Twickenham, though, a different kettle of fish. I think England will round out their international window as well with a win. $1.22 favourites right there, so get amongst them. So plenty of international footy to sink the teeth into this weekend on what is your last weekend of rugby action for 2025. In terms of the UFC, of course, last weekend's card absolutely stacked. UFC 322 went down at Madison Square Garden, and shit did this one live up to the hype. Every fight in the lead up to the main event was an absolute banger. Knockouts galore, people getting slept left, right and centre. Edwards got knocked the fuck out by Prates. You had Morales knocking out Shane Brady as well. Geez, there was just good biffs left, right and centre. You had Dylan Dennis getting in a fight as well, the tool bag, starting one in the crowd up against Khabib's crew. Glad he got the worst from that, and a life ban as well. I really can't stand that bloke. Still just clinging on to his fame as being Connor's wrestling coach back in the day, and he seems like a real dickhead, so well done to Dana White for banning him from future UFC events. But the main event, unfortunately, bit of a snore fest. Contrast to the rest of the card, of course, where Jack Della Maddalena, our Aussie mate, taking on Islam Makhachev for the welterweight title, and unfortunately, it was just a pure domination by Islam on the ground, just wrestled and grappled Jack until basically he couldn't really do anything. A unanimous decision win. This fight was never in doubt. He was dominant from the outset. And yeah, he's a boring fighter to watch. He's not exciting, but you can't deny how bloody good he is, how methodical he is. 15 straight wins for him now. Ties him with Anderson Silva's win streak record in the UFC. I thought he looked unreal at 170 pounds too. Man, he's starting to get into that GOAT chat territory now. Personally, I don't think he is, but he's the 11th double champ in UFC history. He's on this crazy streak. He's just dominated multiple divisions now. Hate him or love him. And he is a tough watch, but you can't deny the bloke is insanely good. And I left that fight feeling so deflated for Jack. Just didn't go his way at all, and he never looked like winning that one. But this week we roll on to hopefully a better result for the iZac scrappers. Our boy, Dan Hangman Hooker, back in the octagon. No more 1 minute scraps. This is legit now, fighting for the real stuff and potentially a shot at the title, you'd have to think. If he can beat Arman Sarukian this weekend in what is a scary fight, then I reckon Dan does get a crack at the strap. Of course, Hooker, lots of injuries lately. I think he's had 3 fights in the last 3 or 4 years. He is on a 3-fight win streak though, and those injuries have been brutal for him. So good to see him get through this camp. He's over there in Doha now, and he is ready to go. He's the 7th ranked fighter in this division, and he is taking on Sarukian, who is ranked 2nd. And if we're being fair dinkum, that bloke is a hell of a killer, man. He can do it all. Stand and bang. He can wrestle. He can grapple. He's tough. He's got a big engine. Dangerous fighter for sure. But what's interesting to hear is in the lead-up, Dan's kind of come out and said, this is the fight I wanted. He's the scariest bloke in the division that's not the champ. And if I want to be the champ, this is the bloke I have to knock off in order to book that title fight. And I rate that from Dan, acknowledging that his opponent is a bit of a freak, but also saying, look, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and that's what I'm here to do. So really looking forward to this fight. In all honesty, I think if Dan's going to get the dub, he needs to make this one messy, but that's what he does best, right? He drags people into brawls when they didn't have that intention when they walked into the octagon, and that's how he can get the dubs. Shoot, go for the knockout, go for the decision win, but keep it on the feet. Hopefully His wrestling and grappling defense is better than Jack Della Maddalena, who couldn't keep away any of those takedown attempts. Dan, though, he has shown in the past that he can do that. He's long, he's lengthy. If he can keep him at distance and just pick him apart, then I reckon this could be a bloody good fight. Regardless, I'm backing the bloke as well. I just love him. I'm backing my heart over my head 100%. But that's what we do as Kiwis. Up the Hangman. Hopefully, this is just a great night for him. A first night out returning from injury. Let's go, lad. Go to Doha. Sleep this bloke. FIFO job. Fly in, fly out. Get yourself a shot at the strap. And then back here to run those dad fights coming up out at Auckland Museum. What a fucking crazy life this bloke lives. But Dan Hooker, of course, he's your heavy underdog in this one. And fair enough too. I can understand why all the experts are loading up on Saruki, and he is a scary prospect. The best thing about this too, fight night card, so we don't have to pay money for it. If you got a Sky Sports Now subscription, ESPN, then you can literally clock in for free. Can't get better than that. Sarukian $1.20 favourite, Dan Hooker $4.50. If you want to go method of victory, Hooker by KO, TKO or points. Hooker by TKO $11, points $10. That is juicy value. Remember, the code this week is on a Dan Hooker head-to-head bet as well. So you've literally got nothing to lose. Just be a patriot. Have a crack. Back in our boy. If he can pull this off, that would be fucking good stuff. So get up there, Dan. NBA, Thunder, Nuggets, to me, leading the West and both looking insane. Looking like the best teams in the competition by a mile. And you'd have to say they're on a direct collision course to a conference finals where those two will meet each other, unless things go horribly wrong. And to be fair to OKC, things have gone wrong so far. They've had injuries galore. They've been without their second best player all year, basically, in J-Dub. Plus, they've had other injuries to the roster too. Key players, Caruso and co, Wiggins as well. But man, they're still just racking up wins, and they're on track to beat that historic Warriors season, 73 dubs. They're making it look easy so far. And in games where I thought they would have been tested, like the Lakers last week, shit, I think I even tipped the Lakers out as an upset. Man, they just turned up the heat and pumped them. Their defense is relentless. They can go to different levels on that side of the floor, and then their attack led by SGA and Chet is just so well-rounded, and they keep just unearthing these young talents that they've picked up through their draft picks. They are well and truly looking like they are going to be building a dynasty over the next few years for sure. For the Nuggets, it's just been a great start to the year for them, and luckily I tipped them out as my Smokies to win the comp, paying 26s. I thought they'd form the best roster yet around Joker. Joker's playing some insane basketball. You got Jamal Murray going well too. Cam Johnson hasn't quite been as good as I think he can be, but the other role players have been exceptional. And both of those teams at the moment, they look on a different level. Good to see. I'm recording this Wednesday lunchtime, but LeBron James meant to make his season debut later this hour though, so by the time you are listening to this, you will know if that goes down. But hopefully the King is back in what is an historic 23rd year in the NBA. That is crazy shit. In terms of your Thursday games, today's games, best ones to watch from me, Rockets versus Cavs in Cleveland. That should be a doozy. I'm going to tip the Rockets there for the win. They're another team incredibly dangerous. Warriors versus Heat in Miami. You can never underestimate the Miami Heat, especially at home. And Knicks versus Mavs in Dallas. Fuck, has that been a shit show, right? They've fired their GM now. They've got a new GM in the mixer. Cooper Flagg not looking as good as advertised, but that's because the roster around him isn't exactly complimenting him. To me, they're in full tank zone now. Surely they just wave the white flag and go for a high draft pick next year. Next year's draft looks insane too. If you haven't seen the Boozer twins, one in particular, of course, son of Carlos Boozer, he is insane. There's some young talent in this roster. They reckon it is going to be the best draft in recent memory. So the Mavs, they would be smart to just call it a year. Basically, they're not going to be in playoff contention. Get rid of Kyrie, get rid of AD even, clear decks and try form a roster, a young roster around Cooper Flagg that could bring the best out of him. When you think about it, right, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, they've got some assets there that other teams would literally fall head over heels for. And I believe Mark Cuban, he's come back in as like a GM of basketball type of role now, so he will be calling the shots. And I think that is great for that organization. Also today, Bulls versus Blazers in Portland. Portland, one of only, two teams to beat OKC so far this year. And on their day, they can be a punchy young roster too. So some good games today. I'm going to tip the Rockets to beat the Cavs, the Warriors to beat the Heat in Miami with Curry playing some great ball lately. Knicks, they should be too good for the Mavs. And then I'm going to back the Bulls to get the dub. Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to go Blazers in Portland. Why not? Go get the upset, lads. A-League, week 5, went too early last week, started firing out AFC tips for you when actually that game goes down this weekend. They're taking on the Brisbane Roar. We're favourites, $1.67, Roar $5, and I'm still going to roll that correct score bet. 2-0 to AFC, that is paying $7, running that till it hits, and if it hits this weekend, we'll still be in profit. Of course, that game at the Fortress, Mount Smart, should be a bloody doozy, so get out there. If you're not up to much on your Sunday Arvo, 3 p.m. kickoff, that should be a good watch. Phoenix actually play Saturday Arvo 2 at home against Macarthur, 245 betting favourites, Macarthur 260, the draw 360. Don't mind a cheeky little draw bet in that one. Should be a decent watch. So plenty of sports still for you to have a cheeky little Carmichael punt on this weekend. If you're gambling, please do so responsibly, but please do so at the TAB. Long-time supporters of Surly Talk Sport, and we really appreciate them for riding with us from day one. So go get around them. All right, that's us for another episode of Surly Talk Sport. As always, cheers for your ears. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, promo code TAB. Use that code Hooker. Head-to-head bet on Dan Hooker to win against Arman Sarukian in that UFC Fight Night fight on your Sunday. If he doesn't win, you'll get your money back in bonus cash up to $20. Limit of the first 200 customers to claim that offer. So get in and get in quick. If you're looking for a golf handicap this summer, wanting to dust off the clubs, then use my Flexi Club promo code SURLY30 for $30 off at checkout. Get yourself a Flexi Club membership. You get affiliated rates, a handicap, Golf NZ app, all those good things. You won't regret it. Summer, it's golfing season, baby, so get out there, twilight, make the most of the extended sunlight, round up your mates, have a hack, donate some Pro V1s. She is a bloody good sport. And I'll catch you back here, same time, same place, next week. Enjoy your rugby, enjoy your A-League, enjoy the UFC, get up Dan Hooker, enjoy your NBA. Basically, all the sport on offer. Up the ABs, finish the year with a bang, lads. Go and get them. See you next week. Go well. Big Fizz.